Daf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the top. The Mishnah mentioned that the Aron was hidden. The Brisa now elaborates. Mishnah Nignas Aron, when the Aron was hidden, Nignas Iman, what was hidden with it, and Senes Aman, the jar of man, Moshe Rabbeinu put it for a zikoron for the dayers, to remind the dayers how that the Kodesh Baruch Hu gives us parnasa. He put away the man, that they should have a reminder of the man, of the nace of the man, that it was in the midbar. So they had the jar of the man that was also hidden with the Aron. Utzluchas Shemana Mishcha, and the flask that had the Shemana Mishcha, the oil that they used to be Meshech, the Kalim, in the Beis HaMikdash. Umaklai shall Aron the Prachu Shkedim, and the stick, the staff of Aron, that had the blossoms, the almonds, after the machlokes of Kairach. There was the nace that it had. It showed that it had blossoms and almonds, to show that the Rabbi Shalom chose the Kohanim, that shows that Aaron and his descendants should be the Kohanim. So that was also hidden. V'argos she'yeshiva plishtim Hashem l'kei Yisrael, and the box that the plishtim, they captured the Aron, and they were afflicted with punishment, yisurin, with hemorrhoids. They returned it, and they returned it with a matana, with the box that had the golden images of hemorrhoids and mice, and they sent it back. That was next to the Aron, so it was hidden with the Aron. And all of these were hidden when the Aron was hidden. Mi Gonza, who hid the Aron? Yeshio Genoza. Yoshio Melech, the King Yoshio, he hid them. He hid the Aron. Why did he do that? Because Kevan Shiroj, he saw that it was written in the Pasuk. So when he was doing the repairs for the Beis HaMikdash, then they found a Megillah that mentioned this following Pasuk. And it was interpreted, and therefore Huldah the Nevi'ah interpreted it to mean that there would be a golus, and they would be captured, and that the Aron, if it would not be hidden, the Aron would be taken down to Moab. So the pasuk said, "Yoylech Hashem oischaves malkacha asher takim alecha el goya shelo yadata at haveisecha," that the Rebbeinu Shalom will take you into Golus, your king, into a nation, meaning to Babel, a nation that you didn't know. So Amad v'Gonza, so therefore he hid it. He hid it, and therefore it should be hidden and not lost in Babel. That was written, then the pasuk says, "Vayemer leLevim amavinim lechol Yisrael agadoshim Hashem." Yeshua Melech said to Levim, who teach all Yisrael, who were Kodesh Hashem, he said to them to do as Aaron HaKodesh Babayis Asher Banu Shlema Ven Dovid Melech Yisrael. He said, place the Aron in the bayis, the Beis HaMikdash, that Shlomo Melech built. Meaning, what is the meaning of that? It was in the Beis HaMikdash. So what do you mean, put it in the Beis HaMikdash? And why is he stressing that Shlomo Melech built it? Meaning, the pshat is that put it there, hide it in the Beis HaMikdash, hide it in the hidden chamber that Shlomo Melech built, that he made, because Shlomo Melech knew b'nevuah that this would be happening, that there would be a churban, there would be a golus. So he said, hide it. Ein lachem masa b'kasef. You won't carry the Aron anymore on your shoulder. The Gemara explains, now what does that mean? Amar Lemi said to him, Im goylahu imachem leBavel, if the Aron will be exiled together with you in Bavel, Eina atem machzirun eishaid lam kaima. You won't be able to carry it back. You won't be able to bring it back. So that's what you mean, Ein lachem masa b'kasef. You won't carry it anymore. Therefore, Ella ata ivdov Hashem lekecha ves Ama Yisrael. Now you serve Klal Yisrael, meaning you serve Klal Yisrael in different ways, but not in this way. So therefore, you as the Mitzvah explains, you'll serve them in other ways, but not with the Aron. Now the Gemara discusses about the Shemana Mishcha. Pitum Shemana Mishcha. How did they make the Shemana Mishcha? The pasuk says V'ata kach lecha. So the Gemara. So the pasuk says V'ata kach lebesamim reish mar dror chamesh meis kirman besem machsisa chamishim mesayim u'kenei beisem chamishim mesayim. So it says you take these ingredients. You take the mar dror, 500. And it says that kinomen and simen that you take also machsisai chamishim b'sayim, which is so therefore half of 500, 250. Knei beisem is also 250, so that knei beisem that came 250. V'kido chamesh mayis b'shekel l'kaidish, and kido and cassia 500. And so you take all this, so the total of this is 500, 200, and 250 plus 500 is 1500. So it's 1500, and shemen zayis hin, and a hin of shemen zayis. So the pasuk says, "Vata kach lecha v'kida chamesh meis v'gomer shein elef v'chamesh meis monim." So it's a total of 1500 monim, like we said, and shemen zayis hin, and a hin of shemen zayis, which is shneim aser lug, which is 12 lugim. So now, one opinion is, how did they make this? That they took all of these spices and they boiled it in the shemen. And therefore, the shemen HaMishcha had the fragrance and the aroma of all of these spices. Divramer. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, they didn't boil it in the oil. Sholkan haya b'mayim. They boiled the spices in water. And then they got saturated with water so they wouldn't absorb the oil. And then they poured the oil on top of them so that the oil would not be absorbed, so that it'll be enough, because there's only 12 lugin of the oil, so they didn't want to absorb it in the roots, so they poured it on top of it, and then when it had the oil absorb the fragrance of the spices, then he would remove it. Just like the people who make perfume, that's how they do it, that's how they make it. And that's what it means when it says in the pasuk, Shemen Mishkas Kodesh, it's Shemen Mishkas Kodesh, Roikach Merkachas Masa Rekeach. So it's made, the people, the experts, the way the people who make the perfume, that's the way they make it. Tani, we learn in the Brayso of Rabbi Yehuda, by Rabbi Eloi, he says, Shemen HaMishcha, Shayis HaMoshe B'Midbar, the Shemen HaMishcha, the Moshe Ben Mir Midram, Maisa Nisim, Nasaba Mitchila Vatsaif. It had many miracles, Maisa Nisim, Mitchila Vatsaif, from the beginning to end. What were the Nisim Shemitchila, Loi Haya Ba'al Shnei Masar Lug? Because to begin with, it only had 12 lug. It only had a hin, 12 lug, Shenemar Shemen Zayas hin. Now, if you're only going to smear it on the roots, on the psamim, there wouldn't be enough for all of these. The 1500 monim that they had, it's not enough 12 lugin even just to smear it on it. But alachas kama v'kama, and certainly how the more so. So according to this shita, it was boiled in it. He's going according to the shita that it was boiled in the oil. So achas kama v'kama she'ur boileya. When you boil it, therefore some of it is going to be the fire will now burn some of it. It literally means it'll be absorbed, but some of it will be burnt off in the fire. And the wood absorbs some of it, and the pot will absorb some of it. And they use this oil to do the Mashiach, to anoint the Mishkan and all the Kalim, Shulchan v'chol Kalim, and the Shulchan and the Kalim, v'menayr v'chol Kalim, u'memena nimshchu Aaron Kain, and with that oil, they did the Mashiach, they anointed Aaron, and nimshchu Aaron Kain Godol, uvana v'chol shivas yimei Meluim, and it was used for Aaron, his son, and all the 7 days of Meluim. U'memena nimshchu Kain v'gedolim malachim, and the future Kahanim Gedolim Malachim were also anointed with it. So how could there be enough for all of this? It must be Maisa Nisim Harbe. So we said that this oil was used to do the Mashiach for the Kahanim Gedolim and for Malachim. So what's the chilek between them? Melech B'tchilaton Mashiach. A Melech, the first in his family, if he's the first in his family to reign, you need a Mashiach. But Melech, Ben Melech ain't on Mashiach. But a son of a king, the son of a king, does not need Mashiach. It continues on without Mashiach. My timer, kum Mashiach ki zahu. It says when the Mashiach for Dovid Melech. So Hashem, the Rebbeinu Shalom told Shmuel to give Mashiach to him because he is the one. He is the king. Meaning, but we darshan he needs Mashiach. He's the first in his family, but his son does not need Mashiach. Zet on Mashiach, ain't benoit on Mashiach. Amal Kohen Gadol ben Kohen Gadol afilana soradoros on Mashiach. But that's not the case with the Kohen Gadol. Even 10 generations of a Kohen, the son of a Kohen, does need Mashiach. You always need Mashiach for the Kohen Gadol, even if he is the son, and even if 10 descendants of Ben, they need Mashiach. Now, going back to the Shemen HaMishcha, so we said there was all these Nisim, and therefore there wouldn't be enough oil for all of these uses and all the loss that would be involved in the preparation of it and all the uses that it was used for. And nevertheless, and even more so, all of it was intact and it'll be there for the future. Like it says in the Pasuk, Shemen Mishchas Kodesh Yezeli, L'Deirei Seichem, this Shemen HaMishcha, the full amount of it will be for future generations. So another halacha by the Mashiach of Malachim, Ein Moishchem Malachim Ela Gabi Hamayim. When we do Mashiach for the king, it's only by a spring of water, that it shows that it should now endure. The monarchy, the Malchus should endure like the spring that's constantly flowing. Shenemar, it says by the Mashiach v'Shlema Melech v'Yekavtem es Shlema b'ni ala preida asher lo yivaret moisel gichain. So Dovid Melech said, take Shlema my son, take him on the mule, and take him down to Gichain. Take him down to Gichain, which was the spring of water that was located there. Take him down to and do Mashiach and Umashach Oisa Sham Tzaddik Kohen v'Nosan Navi l'Melech al Yisrael. And they should do Mashiach Tzaddik Kohen and Nosan Navi. They should be Moshe him there. So you see that the Mashiach of a Melech has to be on a Mayan. Ein Moshe Melech ben Melech. Now, as we said, generally speaking, we do not do Mashiach as a king, the son of a king, only for the first in the family. But if there's a special reason, we do. So therefore, Ein Moshe Melech ben Melech el b'nei machlokes. If there's a machlokes, and therefore you want to show and ratify that this is the king, so for that reason, that you would do a Mashiach even for a Melech ben Melech. So therefore, why was Shleima? Why did he have Mashiach? He was the son. He was the son of David HaMelech, because Adonai he challenged it, and he says Ani Emloich. He maintained that he should be the king. So therefore, to ratify the Malchus of Shleima HaMelech, there was Mashiach. Yoyesh. Why did they have Mashiach for Yoyesh? Because Atalyo, who wanted to kill out all the descendants of Dovid HaMelech, and therefore to affirm that Yoyesh would be the king. Therefore there's Mashiach. Yoyachas. Why was there Mashiach? There was because of Yoyakim, his brother, because Yoyakim was older, and therefore they to assert that the younger brother was the king, they did Mashiach. So because he was 2 years older than him. Yehu, why was Mashiach for Yehu? Because Yoram was the son of Achaz, and therefore, but there's a Mashiach given to Yehu, because he was designated to be the king to kill out the house of Achab. So therefore, he had Mashiach because on the normal order of things, Yoram, the son of Achaz, would have been the king. So they gave Mashiach to Yehu. Frank, the Gemara, we brought the pasuk previously that the Rebbeinu Shalom commanded Shmuel HaNavi to be Moshech David HaMelech, and it says Ki Hu Zeh. Now we darshan before, that means that a Melech doesn't need Mashiach, but we also darshan Ki Hu Zeh. He needs Mashiach. David HaMelech, the descendants of David HaMelech, Malchus based David need Mashiach. He needs Mashiach. Zeh ton Mashiach. Ve'en Malch Yisrael ton Mashiach. But the Malch Yisrael don't need Mashiach. And therefore, if they don't need Mashiach, there's no din Mashiach of the Malchei Yisrael, and therefore you can't Lamaisa even give the Mashiach from the oil of the Shemen HaMishcha, because then there will be Me'ilah. So how can you say that Yehu had Mashiach? So Namor asks another kasha. And we said previously in the Brisa that we said that there was a Mashiach for Yoachim, because Yoachim, his brother, was 2 years older, and therefore they had to affirm his Malchus, and there was Mashiach. So what do you mean there again Mashiach? How can they give Mashiach? Didn't we say previously that Yoshio, their father, that hid the oil? So therefore, the oil was already hidden before Yoachaz was coronated. And therefore, what we answer over here is about Parsim Nimshach. When we say over there Mashiach, yes, they had Mashiach, but not with the Shemen HaMishcha. They had a Mashiach with a Arfarsim, Shemen Afarsim, balsam oil, which was not the Shemen of the Mishcha, of the Shemen Mishchas Kodesh of Moshe Rabbeinu. Ein Maishchem Elochan element of care. Now, when we give Mashiach to a king, it's from a horn of an animal. Shaul v'Yehu nimshcha min apach. But Shaul and Yehu, they didn't have Mashiach from a keren. They had Mashiach from a pach, from a flask of oil. They didn't have it from the keren. So therefore, Aisa Melucha, Melchosan, Malchus Averis, it wasn't permanent, it was only temporary. So as the Marsha explains, Marsha and Megillah explains that like the klicheres, a pach is a klicheres that's easily broken. The Malchus didn't endure, it did not endure, it was broken. Davar Shloima, Nimshcha min a-keren, but Davar Shloima, they had Mashiach from a keren, they had it from the keren, Hayal Malchusa, Malchus, Kayemes, and their Malchus endured, that it had a horn, and therefore it endured. Ein Maishchim Kahanim Elochim. If we have to give Mashiach to a king, we give it only to Mashiach to the descendants of Dovid Melech. If we have to appoint a king temporarily from another Shevet, we don't give Mashiach. Amar Rav Yehuda on Tudaria, he said, what's the source of that? Al Shem Lo Yosef Shevet Yehuda. Because it says Lo Yosef Shevet Yehuda, and therefore the Malchus has to be Davke from Yehuda, meaning on a permanent basis, the Malachim have to be from Yehuda. Now, even if temporarily we have to be a Melech from a different Shevet, but we don't do Mashiach. There's no Mashiach. So the Ramban explains it is, meaning Kohanim doesn't mean only Kohanim. We don't give Mashiach to someone else from a different Shevet, even Kohanim. Even if they had the mile of Kohanim, they don't have Mashiach. Now, Shaul HaMelech, he was before David, but from the ascent of David HaMelech, then there's no Mashiach from another Shevet. Amar Rav Chiya bar Ada, he says a different source. It says, Laman Yarach Yama Malachtu Hu Vana B'Kerev Yisrael. It says that the Gabi the Melech, that he will have prolonged days, him and his sons, in the midst of Klal Yisrael. And the next pasuk says, Maxi Basrei. What does it say after? Lo Yeh Lo Kahanim Alavim. So we darshan that there will be Mamlachta Hu Bana B'Kerev Yisrael, but Lo Yeh Lo Kahanim Alavim. But they should not have prolonged Malchus. Their Malchus should not be prolonged. So we learned in the Brisa that after Yoshio, Yoachaz, his son, succeeded him. So Amar Rav Yochanan, Hu Yochanan, Hu Yoachaz. Yochanan and Yoachaz are the same. Now the pasuk says that Yoshio, as far as Yoshio Melech, his sons, the first one is Yochanan. It says the second was Yoakim, the third Tzidkiyahu, and the fourth was Shalom. So the Gemara darshans that Yochanan and Yoachaz are one and the same. That they're really the same person. V'aksiv Abachor Yochanan. It says the firstborn was Yochanan. Then that means if that's the case, then if they're one and the same, Yochanan and Yoachaz are the same, that means Yoachaz was the oldest. Now, the Brisa before said that they had to give him a Mashiach because Yoakim, his brother, was 2 years older. But if Yochanan is one and the same, Yochanan and Yoachaz are the same, then Yoachaz was the oldest, not Yoakim. So where it says Bechor LaMalchus, when it says that Yochanan was a Bechor, it doesn't mean chronologically he was a Bechor. It means it was the first to rule, the first of the Malchus. Amar Yochanan, Hu Shalom, Hu Tzidkiyahu. They're also one and the same. It says that the third born was Tzidkiyahu, the fourth was Shalom. So Gemara says, no, it means that they're one and the same. There aren't different people. It's Shlishil Talodis. The third one is the third born was Tzidkiyahu. And it says that the fourth was Shalom. So it says, when it says the fourth was Shalom, means Revi'il Malchus, meaning that it was the fourth to rule in the order after Yoshiyahu. Because after Yoshiyahu, the way the order went, the Malchus went to Yoyachaz, then it went to Yoyakim, and then it went to his son Yoyachin, and then it went to Tzidkiyahu. So it went to Tzidkiyahu, he was the third born, but the fourth to rule. So now, why was he called Tzidkiyahu, and why is he called Shalom? He's called Tzidkiyahu Shetzidik Midas Adin, because after the terrible punishments in Nebuchadnezzar, he killed his sons in front of his eyes and he blinded him. Nevertheless, that Tzidkiyahu was Matzik the Din. He had no complaint, no tinus. Shalom, why was he called Shalom? Should be Yom Shalom Malchus Beis Dovid. He was called Shalom because that was Nishlam. That was the end of Malchus Beis Dovid, and it was over. And there is until Mashiach, and the Malchus Beis Dovid had ended and were only restored by the time of the Mashiach. Rish Lakish Amri says Lo Shalom Havishmei V'Lo Tzidkiyahu Havishmei. Neither was his real name. His real name was Matanya. That he, after the Yechoniah, then it says that the Nebuchadnezzar crowned his uncle in his place, and he called him the Tzidkiyahu. So it says he's Yamlach as Matanya. So his name was really Matanya, but he called him Tzidkiyahu. Why was he called Tzidkiyahu? Why did he call him Tzidkiyahu? Because he said that Hashem will be mastik my judgments against you if you rebel against me. Now coming now to discussion about the Aron HaKodesh. So Rabbi Yochanan says, the Aron was made with an Amma of 6 tvachim. An Amma could be made out of different types of, different number of tvachim, 5, 6, or 7. So he says the Amma of the Aron was made with a measurement that each Amma was made up of 6 tvachim. Who is the Tana that says that? Reb Meir. It's Reb Meir, this non. Reb Meir says, Kola Amos Hayubenes. All of the Amos in the Beis Hamikdash were made out of medium-sized Amos. They were made out of the Amma of 6 tvachim, which was the middle size. Rav Yehuda Omer, he says, Amos Habinyan Shisha. He says, if we're talking about the binyan itself, the structure, and then, yes, it was 6 tvachim. But shel kelim chamisha. If it's the kelim, the utensils, it was made out of an amma of 5 tvachim. So, I'll die to the Rameir. According to Rameir, do Amar ba'amar shel shisha tvachim ha'aronos. He says the Aron was made of an amma of 6 tvachim, or kashel Aron chamisha asar tvachim. So therefore, it'll come out that the length of the Aron was 15 tvachim. Why is that? Because the pasuk says about the Aron, Amma sign v'chezi arka. It says it was 2.5 ammas of the arach, of the length. So therefore, if it's 2.5, therefore each amma is 6 tvachim. So 2 ammas are 12, and a half of 6 is 3 is 15. So it's 15 tvachim. So therefore, it has the length is 15 tvachim. Amsa ashita. The first amma is, if they use 2.5 is 6 tvachim. But amsha asita, and second is 6. So pagas amplat lasa. So you have a total of 15. So the length is 15. V'arba luchos hayubai, and how did the luchos were in the Aron? How did it fit? There were 4 luchos in the Aron. Shnaim shleimim. He holds that the luchos and the shivrei luchos were in the Aron. That's what he holds. So therefore, you have 4. 2 were shleimim, and shnaim shvurim, and 2 were broken. Zechsiv asher shibarta v'samta b'Aron. you take also the broken luchos and put them in the aron. So haluchos hayakol echad arka shisha tvachim. The luchos, each one was a length of 6 tvachim, and rochboi shloish, and it had a width of 3 tvachim. Tein rochban shel luchos la'arkan shel aron. So put the width of the luchos and parallel to the length of the aron, and shtayr sham shleisha tvachim. So you have the width of the luchos were 3 tvachim. So you have 4 of them. So that means there's 12, and you put them lined up along the length, and that leaves you 15 minus the 12. It leaves you 3 tvachim. So it leaves you spare an extra 3 tvachim. So tein mehem chatzi tefach l'chol kaisel, of a half a tefach on each wall of the aron. Nishtayu shnei tvachim l'sefer Torah. So there was 2 tvachim left to place the sefer Torah. So we'll continue with the discussion on the coming Amud.